Hey guys, I know it's been a ridiculous amount of time since the last time I filmed, so I'm just going to jump straight in. I really want to do another cosmetics and commentary video, and I would love to talk about series 2 of Singles Inferno. I've been absolutely obsessed with it. It's actually New Year's Eve when I'm filming this, so I'm going to be getting ready for New Year's Eve. So I've got a bunch of notes. I've written pages and pages of notes. Hopefully I can just get through them quickly. As of New Year's Eve, there have been 6 episodes so far. Episodes 7 and 8 come out on Tuesday. So hopefully I can get this video up by then. And I do plan on doing a follow-up, whether I do a follow-up on episode 7 and 8, or if I wait for the following week for 9 and 10 to come out and then just do one video for episodes 7 to 10. I guess it just depends how much happens. I mean, I'm doing 6 episodes, so we better just go ahead and jump straight in. Okay, so I'll just start by talking about the contestants we have this season, and this is in order of when they walk out. I was going to say walk out on stage. This is the order of as they walk out onto the island into the campfire pit, which is exactly the same place where they all walked out and met each other for the first time in season 1. So the first person to walk out is a girl. Her name is Shinsuke. Also, I should mention apologies in advance. I'm so sorry if I pronounce any of these Korean names incorrectly. I think it is going to be likely. I'm doing the best. I find Korean names particularly difficult to pronounce. You would think, as I am a fan of K-pop and K-dramas, that I would know how to pronounce certain names by now, but sadly I do not. So Shinsuke. And I've just written some notes about how I feel about each one. So I wrote that she seems cold, but when people get to know her, they find she's easygoing and fun. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Like me, for example. Suki is one of my favorite contestants on the show because I feel like I do relate to her in the sense that, you know, I feel like I do not give off a very strong first impression, but as people get to know me, I leave a stronger lasting impression. I think I do seem quite shy, quite reserved, and then people seem to see me as like a fun, easygoing person the more they get to know me. She also says that guys tell her that she has stars in her eyes. She says that her eyes are her best feature. The next person to walk out is another girl. Her name is Park Sejong. She's very confident in herself. She's very active. I think she says she does weight training 4 to 5 times a week, and when she's not doing that, she's playing golf or she's playing tennis. I think she said those are the sports she plays, but she's very, very active. She reminds me a bit of Kang So-yeon from the very first season. Not just because she's active, but even appearance-wise, they both have that beautiful bronze skin. They just kind of have that very natural, sporty girl kind of vibe. The third person to walk out is a man, and his name is Chae Jong-woo. A fortune teller encouraged him to go on the show. At the same time though, and this is just going by the translation, so I don't know how accurate it is to what he actually says, but apparently it said, oh, a fortune teller told me that if I go on the show I might find someone I end up marrying. I'm like, yes, but the fortune teller said the word might, so if you find someone or if you don't find someone, the fortune teller's going to be right. He said the word might, he didn't say definitely. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. He loves soccer, and I wonder if perhaps he played it on a professional level, because it sort of showed some footage of him playing and he looked very, very skilled. So it would be interesting to see if he's played it on a professional level. I couldn't help but notice the shape of his lips. His lips, they kind of, I don't know, they almost look like it makes me, I can't help but wonder if he's had lip filler, just because I feel like he has those types of lips that can, you know, that looks like he's had some work done to them. I mean, it's likely that they're natural and he just has very unique shaped lips, but I can't help but feel like he looks like he's had some injections done. like, I don't know, maybe he could be, maybe he could have been a trainee for a K-pop group or something, because I know that a lot of them do feel pressure to get plastic surgery over in South Korea. Okay, the next person to come out is another girl, and it's Lee Soe. She has a calm personality and she's honest. Can be clumsy, loves to dance. She's very petite. I think later on in one of the episodes she's chatting to another one of the contestants, and I think she says she's about 158 centimeters, something like that. Very, very, very petite. And her whole demeanor, her appearance, not just being petite, but also her facial features. So her height, her facial features, and her whole round demeanor, she just seems very young. We're not quite sure how old she is yet. However, I feel that has this very childlike essence about her. Both the way she looks and the way she acts is very young, almost childlike in a sense. And the second I saw her, I was like, okay, the guys are either gonna love her youthful energy, or they're gonna think she's really young, and they're not going to take her seriously. She's probably going to seem like a little sister to them. Yeah, that was just sort of the vibe I was getting from her. The next person to walk out is Jo Yoon-jae. And I had a feeling the second he walked out that he was going to be popular. Yeah, but he says that he does CrossFit and he likes hiking, is attracted to wisdom. And I do notice, you do notice, like, as each contestant is walking out, the men all seem to have the same interests, you know, that they love working out. And I guess that's, I don't know if it's because, you know, they're not allowed to talk about things like age or profession. So, I don't know, maybe they feel like they can't really talk about anything else other than, I like working out, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, do you have any other hobbies aside from your job and working out? Because the girls, they're quite happy to talk about what they're looking for and other hobbies aside from working out and da-da-da. And I feel like the men walk out and we just have no idea what they like to do for fun. The next person to walk out is another woman, and it's Lee Nadine. She also speaks English, and she sort of flows in between speaking English and Korean. So instantly I'm like, okay, she must live abroad for at least part of the year. Maybe it's part of her job. She's very sporty. She loves soccer and lacrosse. And when I first saw her and saw how fit and athletic she was, my initial response, my initial sort of gut reaction was like, oh, she's probably a PT or something to that effect, or maybe even an athletic model as well, because she definitely has that body type. She's very tall and slim, so she could do some modeling. Yeah, but I was very surprised to hear what she actually does for a living. Okay, then the next person to walk out is another guy. His name is Kim Hanbin, and he describes himself as positive. He loves climbing, loves to be fun. He seems really jolly and fun to talk to, very bright personality. I'm surprised he wasn't more popular, but we'll get into that. The next person after him is another man. His name is Shin Dong-woo. He looks very tall. He's very manly looking, I suppose is the way I would describe him. And I don't know if this is what happened or if this is just the way it was edited, but Lee Nadine, like, the second she lays eyes on him, like, this smile just crosses her face as if to say, like, wow, like, she's really attracted to him. The next person to walk out, or the final person to walk out, is another girl. Her name is Chae Seyoon. She loves paddleboarding in the summer. She also meditates. She can be competitive. She seems wise and informative, someone you could have a deep and meaningful conversation with. Hanbin takes an instant liking to her. Like, the second she's walking out, he actually stands up and starts clapping. It's like, yeah, real subtle, mate. yeah, so I thought it was interesting that season 1 had 5 men, 4 girls, and this season has 5 girls and 4 men. Yeah, which I thought was interesting. So just like series 1, they split into groups of 3 to explore the island. Lee So-hee, Jo Young-jae and Park Se-jong are group 1. Kim Han-bin, Lee Nadine and Shin Dong-woo are group 2. And Shin Soo-ki, Chae Jung-woo and Chae Se-yoon are group 3. So it just shows them exploring different parts of the island and just like having a chat, getting to know each other. So group 2, Dongwoo and Nadine talk about soccer for a while, how they both like being active. Hanbin was a bit of a third wheel. Again, it is a reality TV show, so chances are there's probably a lot of editing and things like that. So I'm literally just going by the edit. I mean, what else can I do? It's not like any of us have access to the footage that made it to the cutting room floor. So just going by the footage, it looked like he was a third wheel. Group 3, Jungwoo talks to Sulki and Seyoon about the daikons they'll be eating. I believe a daikon is a type of radish. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever had it before, but I think it's popular in Korea. It actually looked quite nice what they were making, what they ended up cooking for dinner later. He tried to use it as a sort of segue to talk about the food they want to eat. So yeah, I guess I understand. Sometimes it can be awkward if you're especially if, you know, they're both very beautiful girls. He's probably quite nervous. And he's like, okay, great, you know, icebreaker food. Everybody loves food. Let's just talk about that. He ends up saying that he liked Sulki more than Seyoon. Oh, he didn't really say he liked him more, but you know what I mean. Like he just kept talking about Sulki and that he's attracted to her, and he felt like they got along a little bit. So he's interested to learn more about her. Group 1, so Soe is, I personally feel like she was a bit of a third wheel, because I feel like it was mainly Young Jae and Sejong who had this conversation going. Like it was a lot of back and forth between the two, whereas Soe is just kind of like, you know, listening into the conversation but not really contributing to it. Sejong realizes she has a splinter, and I think Young Jae seems to be the type of person who, I think he likes the idea of like looking after a lady. So he was really polite about it. He you know, he asks if he can have a look, and then I think he spots it, and he asks her, "Can I take it out for you?" Yeah, so I thought it was kind of nice. Like, yeah, because I feel like sometimes those men who like to be the hero and like to help the woman, I feel like they can be quite like almost bossy in a way. Like they'll just, like, I feel like some men will just like go ahead and take out the splinter and not even bother asking the girl. They're just like, oh yep, I see it, yank. But I kind of like how he, you know, he asked for her permission to like look at it and to take it out before he actually did it. So I think he does seem like a gentleman. I'll admit he's not my favorite of the men. I don't know, I don't see his appeal, if I'm honest. Maybe I just have a really bad taste in men, I don't know, which is probably true. So right off the bat, Sejong was interested in him, and the fact that he removed her splinter, like she's just gonna maintain this interest in him. Like it's so obvious that she's interested, basically is what I'm saying. So the next scene is them all cooking dinner together. Sulki goes with Jungwoo and Dongwoo to get water. Sulki and Dongwoo have a friendly conversation. They seem to get along well. Seyoon and Youngjae peel daikons together and chat. Sui's once again a third wheel. She's just kind of like, and the hosts comment on this as well. They say, oh, Sui just seems to always just be listening in and not actually a part of it. After dinner, they write each other postcards. Now the postcards are who gave you the best first impression. So it may not necessarily be the person you would like to go to paradise with. It's about the person, like pretty much as soon as you sat down by the campfire, who stood out to you the most. Or maybe it could be someone who was in your group when you were exploring the island, sort of thing. Now this is, now I could be wrong, this is who I think wrote each other. Oh no, I think they do say who wrote each other postcards. Anyway, I'll just go by my notes, so hopefully I'm correct. I think Dongwoo wrote to Nadine, Jongwoo wrote to Sulki, Hanbin wrote to Seyoon, and Yoongjae wrote to Sejong. Soe is the only girl who didn't get a postcard. I mean, it makes sense, there are less men than women, so at least one of the girls would have had to have missed out. But I kind of like those statistics. At least only one girl missed out, not more than one. I know that's kind of a sad thing to say, but I mean, it's to be expected. There are more women than men, so yeah. Seyoon wrote to Jongwoo, Nadine wrote to Dongwoo, Soe and Sejong wrote to Yoongjae, and Sulki wrote to Dongwoo. Yeah, that makes sense, because Hanbin was the only man not to get one, which was really sad, because I thought he had a really lovely personality, and I'm surprised he didn't make a stronger first impression, but yeah. Later on we see Soe and Yoongjae have a conversation. Everyone chats over breakfast. The group splits into two to get to know each other better. The first competition of this season is between the girls, and it's called Chicken Fight. And basically the rules is that you have to stand on one foot, and you have to like hold your other foot up. And so if you lose your balance and end up placing your raised foot on the ground, or you fall over, you lose, and it's the last girl standing wins. So Sui ends up winning. She kind of wins by default. She doesn't actually go forward and try to attack the other girls, because Nadine straight away, she like makes a beeline for Sulki and pretty much knocks her off her balance straight away. Yeah, so Sui and Sejong, they sort of hold back and just let the other three fight it out, and then so it ends up being a standoff between those two, and Sui ended up being the overall champion by the end. So as her reward was a special meal that she could share with two of the men, and she chooses Yoongjae and Jongwoo. She's had her eyes on Yoongjae since the start, so she basically just talks to him, and Jongwoo's a bit like a third wheel, I guess. Sui seems like one of those girls who, like, once she sets her sights on somebody, that's it. Like, it's like she's got blinders on to all other men around her. Like, she just wants to like hone in on one person. So, but I feel like a lot of the contestants this season are like that. So after that, Nadine takes Dongwoo aside to have a conversation. She ends up stating later on that she never does that. She never like takes a guy aside and has a conversation with him. So she's thinking, oh, I must be really into this guy if I'm going to be doing something like that, because that's completely out of character for me. She sort of implies that, and they have a conversation. She sort of insinuates, she subtly mentions her interest, and that because I think she noticed that he was spending time with Sulki, and there seemed to be something going on there. Yeah, so she sort of like subtly expresses her interest. I think she was worried that he was going to take something the wrong way, or maybe she wasn't coming across the way that she wanted to. So she subtly is like saying, oh, you know, I'm into you, and I just want you to know that, and hopefully I come across in a way that suggests that I'm interested in you. So then Yoongjae and Seyoon have a brief conversation, because they're getting to the point where they're going to choose who they'd like to go to paradise with. And Yoongjae says that he's torn. So he's chatting with Seyoon, and she says, oh, I think you should just follow your heart. It's because there's no point in being too concerned with what the other person might be thinking, because at the end of the day, you better just go with what your heart is telling you, rather than being concerned about what the other person could be thinking. And he sort of says, oh, you're very wise, and she says, oh no, I worry too. They kind of like get along, and this is probably the first time we've seen them have a chat. Again, editing, perhaps they've talked a lot more other than this conversation, but they edited this way so that the next part is quite shocking. Shocking might be too strong of a word, but anyway. So they all chose who they want to go to paradise with. Only Dongwoo and Sulki and Youngjae and Seyoon go to paradise. So the hosts were not expecting Youngjae to pick Seyoon. Like, we just see them have this very brief conversation just before they have to choose who they're taking to paradise. So I don't think anyone, like not the host, not us, the viewers at home, I don't think any of us were really expecting him to choose her after this one brief conversation, but they end up going to paradise together. Dongwoo seems very interested in Sulki. Actually, side note before I get into any of that, Dongwoo and Sulki, like they make it's got both couples exploring their respective hotel rooms, right? And they make it clear that there are two separate bedrooms in Dongwoo and Sulki's hotel room. It's like two separate bedrooms. It seems like they're in like opposite sides of the place, actually, of their room. And then we go over and see Youngjae and Seyoon, and there are two beds in one bedroom rather than two separate bedrooms. I thought that was interesting, and they didn't even explain, whether or not there was a separate bedroom, or if they just put two beds in one bedroom and said, oh yeah, you guys can sleep here. Dongwoo seems really interested in Sulki. However, she explains that she needs time to get to know somebody before she can make any sort of decision romantically, I suppose. And he asks her a lot of questions like, oh, do you think you would choose to go to paradise with me again if you were given the chance? She says, I don't know. He says, do you want to get to know me better? Do you see anything happening between us? She says, I don't know. She basically just says, I don't know, to all of his questions. And because she said right off the bat, oh, I need time to process things. I need time to get to know somebody before I make a decision. And he's just like asking all these questions. It's like he's just ignored everything that she said. Side note, Sulki actually kind of reminds me of Shin Ji-yeon from series 1 because she also says that she needs time to process things. We learn about their ages and professions. Dongwoo is 32 and he's a doctor specialized in plastic surgery. Sulki is, I believe she's a senior at Seoul University and she's a piano major. Youngjae and Seyoon get along well. There ends up being some subtle flirting between them, but I feel like it's quite subtle. I don't know if that's just the way they are, or perhaps they're really mindful of the cameras. Yeah, like it seemed like a very innocent flirting, nothing too forward or anything like that, just in my opinion. We learn that Seyoon is an artist. I think she's 27. I'll put like the text. I'll put her age here. And I believe, yeah, I'm so sorry, I can't remember Youngjae's age. I think he's a similar age, or maybe he's 30. Again, I'll put their ages in like along here. Yeah, so Youngjae so yeah, Seyoon's an artist. Youngjae works in finance and stocks. He's a stockbroker. Okay, so then it goes to the next day, and we see the next competition is between the men. In the middle of the competition, a new man joins Singles Inferno. His name is Kim Jin Young. He likes riding motorbikes. That's sort of all we know about him at this stage. He seems like a bit of a bad boy or something. Like he's got like the long messy hair. He's like a rebel without a cause or something. He ends up winning the competition and chooses Sulki and Seyoon to share the special meal. But I also just love the way he talks as well. Like at least in this, the first impression I have of him, he goes, I will eat with the second woman and the fourth woman, and he says it in this like weird way. He eats with them, and he just says that, oh, yeah, because they're asking, oh, why'd you pick us? And he's saying, oh, well, I thought you both seem like quite bubbly and quite and very pretty. I feel like Silky was carrying the conversation with him the most, and I think he ends up being drawn to her. So then Hanbin and Seyoon have a conversation. He strongly implies his interest in her, like he makes it pretty clear that he wants to get to know her more. And then Jungwoo and Silky chat. He says he's curious about her. They give each other compliments. She says that he has a cute nose. Jinyoung and Sejong chat. Just a general conversation. They're both polite. Doesn't seem to be much chemistry between them at this stage. They seem to get along, but I didn't really feel any sort of romantic vibe. I think they're similarly minded, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's any chemistry between them. Sui and Yoonjae chat. Yoonjae is pretty vague about what he wants. He does tell her he'd like to talk to her without limitations, but he kind of says in a way that he wants to talk to everybody without limitations. And I'm guessing by limitations he means you know, because they're not allowed, when they're on the island, they're not allowed to talk about age or professions. And I think he does want to, you know, learn that about a lot of the other girls and things like that. But maybe he's also insinuating how, you know, when you're on a reality TV show and there are cameras everywhere, it probably feels a bit daunting to ask the questions you'd really like to ask. And obviously he doesn't want to divulge too much personal information about himself or about the girls he's talking to. So I sort of get that. Yeah, and then I sort of took that. I mean, that's just that's just my thought process now. Like when I was first watching that episode, I thought maybe he was insinuating that he was going to pick her to go to paradise with, so we could learn about her age and her profession and other things she could be interested in. And paradise is a more intimate setting, and it's a lot easier to, I guess, let loose a little bit and get to know the other person a lot better. I don't know how dark I want this eye look to go. I'm actually going to a Roaring 20s themed event, but I don't have anything like clothing wise, even accessory wise. The only remotely 1920s thing I have is like pearls. I've got a pearl necklace and pearl earrings, and that's it. I don't even have a headband with feathers in it or anything. I certainly don't have a flapper dress or anything like that. So I thought maybe I could at least do my makeup, not necessarily in a similar way to how they did their makeup back then, but I can at least use the colors. So that's what I'm going with. I'm gonna try and, you know, kind of do the colors, but I'm probably butchering this. Now, when it gets to the point where they're choosing who they want to go to paradise with, this is the next night. The catch is you cannot pick somebody you've already gone to paradise with. So that means the first 4 people, they can't choose the same person. So Yoonjae chooses Nadine, which he did it deliberately because he knew that she wouldn't choose him, and he wanted to stay on Inferno. Jinyoung and Sulki match, Seyoon and Hanbin match, and Dongwoo and Nadine match. Jungwoo, Yoonjae, Sejong, and Sui remain on Inferno. Sui is very upset. We see footage showing that she picked Yoonjae again. Sejong picked Jinyoung, in case anyone was wondering. Yeah, because just the fact that she had this conversation, like I understand completely. She has this conversation with Sejong, and it makes, with Yoonjae, and it sounds like he was going to pick her because he actually said, I want to get to know you without limitations. So she's like, oh sweet, I'm going to pick him again. And then he just doesn't pick her. So I feel like that was kind of a dick move on his part. But again, it's the editing. Sui tells Yoonjae how she feels. She says she feels he isn't acknowledging her feelings. Very, very true. I agree with her 100%. She notices they are here for different reasons. He wants to talk to all the women, whereas she wants to focus on the person she's the most curious about. She says she feels he's taking the time to get to know the other girls and is putting her aside or ignoring her in a way. She doesn't explicitly state that. That's just like my interpretation of what she's saying to him. He says he'll get back to her about how he's feeling and won't leave her waiting for too long. And that's the end of episode 4. So That's sort of where that's where my notes were, and then I watched episodes 5 and 6, so that's where we are right now. Episode 5, we see Sulky and Jin Young in paradise. Jin Young almost, oh yeah, Jin Young, it's like he's never been in a hotel before, or maybe he was like making the most of being in a fancy hotel, because he like surprises himself in a mirror, like he didn't realize something was a mirror, and it's like, I don't know if it's that moment where he's like, oh crap, is that another person in here? And then he realizes it's him, and he kind of like bumps into it. He also, I feel like we've all been Jin Young at one stage in a fancy hotel. Like let's be real, we've all been him at some stage, because he's like, he's testing out all the light switches, seeing what they do. He's opening all the drawers. I mean, yeah, I feel like some of us can relate to that. I don't know, it just made me laugh. Like I just think he's a bit of a goofball, and he's one of those guys that like when he's nervous, he doesn't come across as nervous at all. He just seems like very cool and collected. He's almost like, I don't know, how would you describe it? Like, cause he doesn't, when he's nervous, he doesn't come across as nervous at all. If anything, he comes off as a bit of a jerk, because he's like completely expressionless, and he just doesn't seem to care. Like he's very like nonchalant and very aloof. And then I thought it was really cool when we see Hanbin and Seyoon, because they open the doors to this amusement park out of like seemingly out of nowhere. So I thought that was really cool, and they seem to have a lot of fun together. Like they're going on all the rides, and they're just like having a ball basically, and it looks so fun. They just, yeah, it just looks so, like I was really envious. I was like, I wish I could go to an amusement park, because they had the whole amusement park to themselves, just the two of them, and they're just going on all the rides, and yeah, it just looked super fun. They have dinner, and then they talk about their professions and their ages. So, so Seyoon is 28, Hanbin is 24, and he's a chef. A very good one at that. For someone so young, he's actually accomplished quite a bit in the chef world. So, and it's like Seyoon sort of changes her tone almost instantly, and I think it's to do with his age, because I was not expecting Hanbin to be 24. Like, he looks young, but I thought he was going to be the same age as Seyoon. I thought he was going to be 27, 28. But to find out that he's 24, like her opinion of him just like changes instantly. Like all of a sudden, she's sort of like, and the hosts pick up on this as well. Like they say that, oh, it's kind of like she's treating him like he's a little brother now. She's talking to him differently. I'm doing a rubbish job with my eyeliner, but it's okay. I'll tidy it up when I need to tidy it. I mean, it sort of goes without saying, sorry, I'm just reading my notes. She had an inkling he was a chef, because he immediately took control of the kitchen, basically, on the first night, and was like, all right, this is what we're making. Yeah, because Seyoon from season 1, he was the same thing. Like, they all suspected he was a chef, because he just like immediately took control in the kitchen. Okay, and then it goes to Nadine and Dongwoo. He was really super nice to her. Like, he says, oh, well, it sounds like you feel more comfortable talking English, so do you want to talk in English? And she said, yeah, okay. They sort of said, I think they made a joke like, oh, like you'll take a shot for every English word you get wrong or something, or if you slip back into Korean. And then she said, like, well, obviously I'm not going to drink it all then, because like she just said, like, I'll win then. So that I don't think they end up like playing that drinking game. I think they just talk normally and just drink when they want to. So yeah, Dongwoo says that he's 32 and a plastic surgeon. Nadine is 23. I was actually surprised about that. I assumed she was about 25 and 26, not because she looks 25, 26, but because just their first day on the island, she was telling Dongwoo that she played soccer, and it sounded like she played it on a professional level. And because she doesn't seem that old, I'm like, oh, well, if she doesn't play it anymore, she probably only stopped playing it very recently. So it would make sense if she was like in her mid to late 20s. But to hear that she doesn't play soccer anymore and she's only 23, I'm like, that's super young. You could still be playing soccer if you wanted to. Okay, sorry about that. My card is full. And I'm also sorry if you can hear Elsa munching in the background, because as well as moving the files onto my laptop, she started begging me for food. And also while I was waiting for the files to transfer over, I fixed my eyeliner, I added some lashes, and I put some lip balm on. Yeah, so because I realized I need to hurry up and finish my makeup. Okay, so what I was saying, so yeah, I was mentioning about how Nadine used to play soccer and how I thought was interesting that she is only 23, and it seems like she doesn't play soccer on a professional level anymore. It seems like she plays it recreationally, and she's not as competitive as she once was. And I just thought that was interesting because she seems quite young still. Anyway, she is also a pre-med student at Harvard, which I thought was really interesting because I thought for certain that she was a PT or something to that effect. So I was really, really surprised to hear that. Also, can't quite remember, but I think she might be looking into plastic surgery as well. It seemed like they were just like two peas in a pod when it's because they had so much in common, Dongwoo and Nadine, because you know they're both like studying the same thing, or they're both going to, you know, one's a plastic surgeon, another one is, you know, studying to become one. So you would think, oh, maybe they're the perfect match, or maybe you'd think, oh, you know, like it's a bit full on if both people in the relationship are doing the same job. I don't know, like what do you guys think? Do you think it's a blessing that if two people are in the same career path or in the same career field, or do you think it's a little bit much if they do the exact same job? Something that Dongwoo did raise was the fact that she would have to be traveling constantly between the USA and Korea. And she's obviously in the USA for the majority of the time. She does say that she comes back every holiday, but still that does leave a few, like several weeks or a few months in between her visits. And Dongwoo sort of gave this vibe like he's not into long distance relationships, whereas Nadine has said in the show that she can do long distance. It doesn't seem to faze her in any way. So I thought that was really interesting. We see Jin Young and Sulki get along. There seems to be more chemistry between them. She actually does get in the water this time. She didn't when she was in Paradise with Dongwoo. Jin Young says that he was a member of the UDT. I tried looking up what it was, but the hosts of Singles Inferno, they explained it well. They said it's I guess it's a more senior area. It's like special forces in the military in South Korea. I think they could be correct me if I'm wrong, they could possibly be the equivalent of like, say, a USA Navy SEAL. That's at least when I googled it, that's the result I got. Basically, if you're a member of the UDT, it means that you are very committed, you're hardworking, and you're patient, because it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to make it to those special forces. So I thought that was really interesting because he doesn't strike me as like a military type of person, especially because he's got long hair now. So maybe he's been out of the UDT for a while, because I just assumed that maybe you had to have short hair if you were a man in the military. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know if those rules are still in place or if they've changed. He now is a content creator on YouTube, and I think he's looking at creating content to reflect his time in the UDT. From at least that's what the translation was saying. I don't know if that's what he was actually saying, but that's sort of what I gathered from what he was describing to Sulki. He's 28 years old as well, by the way. Okay, so they all return to Inferno. There's an announcement saying they can all freely go on dates on the island, so one-on-one dates, so as in one-on-one dates with whoever they choose. Anyone they'd like to get to know better. Youngjae, like the second they have this announcement, he jumps up from his bed and he goes immediately to the girls' tent and is like, Seyoon, can I please like have a chat with you? Hanbin and Sui talk. Not so much as a date, but they just wanted to have a chat. They talk about Youngjae. Hanbin says Youngjae must be very focused on Seyoon as he left the tent straight away after the announcement. I think Hanbin is warning Soi that they could both have their hearts broken. They may have to prepare for the worst case scenario, because Hanbin's sort of saying, oh, well, the fact that the girl that I like is going for a walk with the guy you like, it seems like those two might end up together and we're just gonna have to be, you know, these two people who are a bit like heartbroken. So then Jongwoo asks Sulki to talk. They ask each other if there's anyone else they would like to talk to or get to know better. Jongwoo says, I'm already talking to her, you know, insinuating that, you know, he's talking to the one and only person he wants to get to know. She thanks him for inviting her to chat, but nothing much else comes from the conversation. Nadine asks Jin Young to chat with her. They ask each other what they want in a relationship. They seem to want similar things. They flirt a little bit. Most of the group go swimming in the ocean. Suki was feeling exhausted from the heat, so didn't join. Jungwoo gives her some, I think some vitamins and a couple of, I guess like some nausea medication. And I think it was like a certain vitamin tablet to like help her feel better from the heat. A face mask as well, so she can like have that nice cooling sensation on her face, I think. As I suspected, 2 newcomers arrived, because I think at the end it was like 6 women and 6 men. That's what happened in season 1, so it's only natural that they do the same in season 2. So the man comes first. His name is Kim Sejun. He likes tennis and he's attracted to nice and bubbly women. And the girl who joins, her name is Lim Min-soo. I think it's Lim. I'm trying to read my own handwriting here. But Min-soo. She seems lively and like a go-getter. Like she, yeah, like quite in your face in a good way. They cook dinner together. Sulki goes with Jongwoo and Dongwoo to get water, sort of a bit like what happened in episode 1. She expresses uncertainty over Jin Young. The hosts think that both men have feelings for her, both men being Dongwoo and Jongwoo. Jin Young seems like a flirt. While Suki's out getting water with the 2 boys, he's like chatting to Sejun and he seems to be like smiling and flirting with her. That's sort of the vibe I got. And that's as they're preparing dinner. So it's almost like he seems interested in Sulki, but the second she's like out of his line of sight, he's like, all right, time to flirt with the other girls, I guess. After dinner, they sit around the fire and get to know the 2 newcomers. Basically what happens is Sulki says that the smoke is getting in her eyes, and then Hanbin immediately says, oh, swap with me, there's no smoke over here, the smoke isn't blowing in this direction. But he mainly offered his seat. He wasn't just being nice to Sulki, it's because she was sitting next to Seyoon, so he wanted to sit next to her. Which I thought was kind of funny. Dongwoo then takes Sulki aside to talk. She says she's concerned that they are not a good match. She feels he treats her a certain way because she's younger than him. He also has the personality where he likes the idea of like looking after somebody, and we see that the way he treats Nadine. He feels the need to like look after her. So I think that's the type of guy he is. He wants to look after his woman. But maybe Sulki felt like he was babying her. She says, as of right now, she's comfortable around him as a friend. She says she'd like to get to know the others more. As soon as Sulki gets back from talking to Dongwoo, Jin Young pulls her aside to talk. They flirt in a subtle way. Then they have a more meaningful conversation about how they are feeling. Sulki feels bad for rejecting Dongwoo. She doesn't seem to like hurting people's feelings. That's the vibe that I got. And I mean, none of us do really at the end of the day. Jongwoo tries to talk to Sulki, but she is ready for bed. He gives her the book he was telling her about asks her to read one passage before she goes to sleep. The passage reflects how he's feeling. I actually had to, they didn't translate the passage on the show, so I literally like paused my TV and I got up Google Translate on my phone. I don't know how accurate it is. I think it was saying how in life, you know, you sort of take the good with the bad. There are some things you can't change, but I guess it's just doing the best that you can. Something along those lines. I don't know how accurate the translation is, so sorry, I don't understand Hangul. So he talks to Yoon-jae. He tells her he wants to talk to other people, seems to be insinuating that he isn't interested in her at all. She says, by talking to other people, you mean talk to Sehun. They decide to try and be friends. I mean, okay, so she doesn't say those words exactly, but she insinuates that by talking to other people, you mean Sehun. They decided to try and be friends. Okay, so the reason why I don't like Yoon-jae that much is because he said to Sohee, oh, you know, like, I'll let you know how I'm feeling and I won't keep you waiting too long. But I feel like she's the one who has to constantly go to him and try to encourage this conversation that he just doesn't want to have. And I get it. No one likes being that person to turn somebody down. Like, it's hard. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. I get it. But you said to her, I'll let you know how I'm feeling and I promise not to keep you waiting too long. Well, you did, mate. You did. In the realm of the show, you kept her waiting. So the poor girl, like, she's forced to like pull you aside and ask you how you're feeling because you're just not sticking to your word. So that's why I don't like Yoon-jae. Like, I just wish he had the balls to actually say, look, I'm interested in Sehun, all right? Just I'm not interested in anyone else. I just want to talk to her. That's all you need to say, mate. Like, why is that so hard for you to say that? Maybe he has problems expressing his feelings. I don't know. Then there's an announcement stating that Sejun and Min-soo can choose who they want to go to paradise with. So that means they both can pick a person each, and yeah, so it's none of this, oh, the other person has to pick them as well. They just choose the person they want to go to paradise with and away they go. So I cannot wait for episode 7 to see who they pick. I tried to see in the clip for next week's episode if you can like subtly see who they picked. I don't think it was very clear. The camera was mainly on them but not on the person they went to paradise with. I hope Sejun picks Sohee because I felt like they got along together as they were preparing dinner. He seemed to be interacting with her a lot, so I just want her to have a happy ending. I know I said, you know, she's got this very childlike demeanor, but at the same time, I think that's just the way she is. That's not her fault, and I don't think she should be pushed aside just because of that. I hope she at least she really wants to experience going to paradise, so I really hope she does get that experience and just has a good time. Min-soo, honestly, I have no idea who she's going to pick. I feel like she was really shy and just like trying to get to know everybody, but in terms of any chemistry she might have with any of the men, I don't know. It was hard. I don't think I really saw her connecting with any one man in particular. Yeah, so I'm really interested to see who she picks. Yeah, so that was the end of episode 6. So this is the makeup look I'm going with, and I know that there is nothing about this makeup that says 1920s except maybe the lipstick, because it's, again, I don't have, I have a pearl necklace and pearl earrings, that's it. That's the only sort of 20s inspired accessory that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly cut the camera. I'm going to put on what I'm going to be wearing. It's probably not going to look much difference to this. And I'll put on the pearl necklace and earrings, and I'll end the video. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with. I'm wearing this long pearl and natural stone necklace, freshwater pearls, a freshwater pearl bracelet, a fashion ring, so a fake glass pearl. I believe these are just glass pearls as well, not real. My earrings. I feel like in this get-up I kind of look more like a twice divorced housewife or something. Like with my pearls on, like wearing my rich ex-husband's pearls to spite him or something. But Anyway, this is what I'm dealing with. I hope you all have a happy and safe New Year's, or had a happy and safe New Year's. I think by the time I upload this, probably will be in the new year. But anyway, I hope you all have a great start to 2023. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll wait another 2 weeks. I'll watch episodes 7 and 8 and then 9 and 10, and I'll do a part 2 rather than turn this into a 3-parter. I think I'll make a 2-parter. I think that'll be better, considering this one video was episodes 1 to 6. So I think I can definitely do my makeup in 4 episodes worth. Okay, thanks again so much for watching. Yeah, I'll be talking to you all again soon. Bye.